because I'm working on a big review of The Lion King 2019. Many people have asked me about my thoughts on the controversy between Kimba and The Lion King, and I figured it would be appropriate to include a little Kimba segue in the review. What I didn't know at the time was just how much I would eventually want to say about it. Boy, was I ever naive. So here's a separate video for the Kimba controversy that would be way too long to fit into the Lion King video. Kimba the White Lion was created by Osamu Tezuka. It started as a manga in the year 1950 titled Jungle Emperor. Tezuka is basically the Walt Disney of Japan, and his works have heavily inspired the manga and anime that we see today. Tezuka himself was largely inspired by Disney films like Bambi and Dumbo, and that inspiration wound up leading to the design of large and expressive eyes in his works that are now commonplace in anime today. Tezuka was very open about where his inspirations came from and how it influenced his works, and this is partially why the Lion King controversy picked up so much steam. Tezuka actually passed away in early 1989, 5 years before The Lion King was actually released, so although he was never able to comment on the controversy at all, those who took it upon themselves to speak for him were upset that Disney never even so much as credited him as an inspiration. And of course they should, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious that Kimba the White Lion was used as a blueprint for the production of The Lion King, and if that's not true, then that would mean that all of these popular YouTube videos on the subject were misleading people into believing an exaggerated version of what the actual controversy is. Well, after thoroughly watching through and researching Kimba, I can definitively say that you have been lied to. You have been manipulated to such a degree that there are going to be people in this comments section white knighting for Kimba who haven't even watched it. And it absolutely baffles me that there are so many people out there that will passionately defend an opinion that is not even their own. Now, I'm sure many of you are currently thinking, wait a minute, I've seen these other comparison videos on YouTube from people who have watched Kimba, and they looked exactly the same. Let's look at one of the most popular videos on the subject, titled Kimba 1966 versus Simba 1994 versus Simba 2019. As you can see, there are a lot of similar shots here. To the average viewer clicking on this video, this is a pretty open and shut case. Even if all of these shots were taken from random points in the Kimba movie to make it more cohesively form-fitting towards the narrative happening in The Lion King, there are still far too many similarities to call it a coincidence, right? Well, you might want to reconsider that thought, because if you believe that, then you are inadvertently admitting that you believe that Kimba the White Lion ripped off The Lion King. What this incredibly misleading and dishonest video failed to mention is that nearly every single shot from the Kimba footage being shown here is from the just how many different scenarios and characters have been used for cliff conflicts in Kimba, then how on earth could The Lion King possibly have had a fight scene on a cliff that didn't look like something from Kimba? And I shit you not, the selectively edited cliff scenes from Kimba are no more significant to the show than literally any other moment. Do you not notice how the Kimba footage is from several different episodes to cover a single scene from The Lion King? The reason this lion turns blue all of a sudden is because it's a completely different character, and neither of these characters are Claw. They're just random lions that show up in one episode each in the sequel series to fulfill their specific conflicts within their contained episode. Probably wondering why it took so long for this show to get an English dub, and it's probably the same reason why the original manga never got an English release. Blackface. Lots and lots of blackface.
You be out of your mind, boss. How could you expect us to work if we don't eat? The price for meat is too high already, Mr. Boss Man.
Warner, I'll be sorry the white lion got away.
Just forget it.
Do we stop poaching now, huh, boss, huh?
With NBC no longer in the picture telling Tezuka what to do, that this is apparently what he wanted to be doing the whole time.
We got that lousy robber this time, don't we?
And it took 20 years for a company like the Christian Broadcasting Network to show up and be like, yeah, this is fine.
He say all they got is a 2-inch long rat steak, boss.
Then bring me something to drink.
Now, I am in no way implying that Kimba fans are all massive racists, and you can always say that this is a product of its time like many American cartoons, but I do find it quite amusing because so many people paint this controversy as an evil racist Americans versus poor little Japanese artists sort of thing. I'm sorry, but if racial politics is one of the deciding factors in terms of how you feel about this controversy, then you might not want to support Kimba. You might accidentally look a lot more racist defending this over The Lion King. This is what Tezuka wanted the entire time. If we're gonna talk about differences between Kimba premiered at a North American film festival, Disney supposedly sent a cease and desist letter, which is not the same thing as a lawsuit regardless of what a certain viral Twitter thread might say. Regardless, this is a dick move on Disney's part, and I do not agree with it, much like I would also not agree with legal action against Disney from Tezuka Productions. This poorly thought out dispute doesn't really hold any weight towards the legitimacy of this controversy in one way or the other, but it's often mentioned by those who cover this controversy, so I figured I'd make it clear that I do not agree with Disney on this one. Like I said, I am very pro-art and creativity, and Disney as a company has been consistently restrictive on their copyrights. They are largely responsible for copyrights being extended to the ridiculous length that they are today. There are plenty of legitimate criticisms to make against them as a company, and this is one of them, even if it now seems likely that